Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating, almost mysterious part of human biology. Why is it that under stress, some people completely shut down while others just explode? You've definitely seen this, right? Faced with the exact same stressful situation, one person might totally lose their temper while another goes completely silent and just retreats. Well, it turns out it's not just a personality quirk. It's actually deeply rooted in your biology.
So, I want you to take a quick second here and honestly ask yourself this question. When you're under stress, do you tend to shut down or do you explode? Think about a recent time when daily life just got overwhelmingly difficult. Maybe it was a major conflict at work, a surprise financial stressor, or a heated argument. What was your automatic reaction? Did you feel this massive surge of chaotic energy, like you were going to explode? Or did you feel a sudden heaviness, a numbness, like your brain just pulled the plug and powered down? Tuning into your own pattern is the very first step to figuring out what your nervous system is doing behind the scenes. Here's the really interesting part, though. Whether you get the urge to fight or flee, that huge rush of intense energy, or you get the urge to freeze and just completely numb out, both of these are entirely valid. Everyone naturally leans toward one of these two survival paths. It's completely normal to have a default setting here. And this is absolutely crucial to hear. Neither of these responses means you're weak or broken or flawed. If you tend to lose your temper, or if you tend to hide under the covers and disconnect from the world, those are not moral failings. They are biological, highly adaptive survival responses. Your body is literally just trying to protect you from what it perceives as an overwhelming threat, even if, that threat is just a passive-aggressive email. To really make sense of all this, the answer lies in something called your window of tolerance. Developed by Dr. Dan Siegel, you can think of this as your emotional sweet spot. It's the optimal zone of arousal where you can function effectively. When you're inside this window, you feel calm, focused, and totally able to handle life's challenges without becoming overwhelmed. You can actually respond flexibly, rather than just reacting impulsively.
When you look at how this works, imagine this green wave as your window of tolerance. As long as the ups and downs of your day stay within those boundaries, you feel okay. But notice those sharp spikes that break through the top or plunge way down through the bottom? That is exactly what happens when stress pushes you outside that window. Your nervous system takes over, you lose access to rational thought, and your basic survival instincts just take the wheel.
All right, Section 1, hyperarousal versus hypoarousal. So what exactly happens biologically when we leave that window? Well, polyvagal theory maps out two extreme states. If you shoot out the top of your window, you hit hyperarousal. This is driven by your sympathetic nervous system, your classic fight or flight mode, and it brings on anxiety, panic, rage, and racing thoughts. But if you drop out the bottom of your window, you enter hypoarousal. That's driven by the dorsal vagal system, your freeze or collapse mode, which brings heavy feelings of numbness, extreme fatigue, and total disconnection.
Let's zoom in on hyperarousal first. Basically, this is a state of having way too much energy. You may become anxious, angry, reactive, or overwhelmed. Your body is physically preparing for action. Your heart rate shoots up, adrenaline floods your system, and you might even experience physical tension or shaking. You become super impulsive and defensive. Why? Because your brain is desperately scanning the environment, you fundamentally feel unsafe, and all that chaotic energy just has nowhere to go.
But then, on the exact opposite end of the spectrum, we have hypoarousal. This is when you have too little energy. You may shut down, disconnect, go numb, or avoid everything. It's an immobilization response to what your body thinks is an inescapable threat. Your system decides the best way to survive is just to conserve energy and shut down entirely. You might feel a really strange absence of physical sensation, just feeling deadened or totally disconnected from reality. You might find yourself entirely passive, unable to say no, and literally unable to process thoughts clearly.
Moving on to Section 2, why your window shrinks.
You might be wondering, why do some people get pushed out of their windows so easily, while others seem to tolerate enormous amounts of stress without even blinking? Well, over time, biological and environmental factors can progressively shrink your capacity. It usually starts with chronic stress or trauma. That actually disrupts your neuroception, which is your nervous system's automatic danger radar. It starts detecting danger even when you're perfectly safe. That leads to a decrease in vagal tone, making it physically harder to calm down. Add in a constant flood of stress hormones like cortisol, and suddenly an everyday inconvenience feels like a massive life-or-death threat.
And you know what one of the biggest everyday culprits for the shrinking window is? A lack of boundaries. If you're constantly saying yes to people when your body is practically screaming no, your nervous system doesn't register that as you just being polite. It registers it as a threat. It keeps your body braced for stress, constantly on alert, which shrinks your window of tolerance even more because it actually views your own physical exhaustion as a dangerous vulnerability.
When your window gets this narrow, the buffer between feeling okay and completely flipping into hyperarousal or hypoarousal is razor thin. It means that tiny, everyday fluctuations in stress, a traffic jam, a misplaced set of keys, a loud noise, push you straight into survival mode. Things that other people might just brush off become completely unbearable for you.
Section 3. How to widen your window. The good news here, thanks to neuroplasticity, you aren't stuck with a narrow window forever. The goal isn't to never feel stressed. That's impossible. The goal is to expand your window of tolerance so you can stay grounded, think clearly, and respond instead of react. And you can strengthen it through a daily healing toolkit. We're talking about prioritizing quality sleep, regular movement to release trapped energy, and deep breathing. It also means setting healthy boundaries, building self-awareness, and investing in safe, supportive relationships. Consistently using these tools sends signals of safety to your body and slowly stretches that window wider.
In fact, let's try something right now together. Just take a pause, take a deep breath, and notice your body. Do you feel tightness in your chest? Maybe some warmth in your shoulders? That's step 1. Step 2 is a super simple breathing exercise. Inhale for 4 counts, exhale for 4 counts, and try to repeat that for 4 minutes a day. And finally, grounding. Right now, just focus your attention on the physical sensation of your feet resting on the floor. Simple, somatic check-ins like this tell your brain, hey, you're safe in the present moment.
Now, what about those boundaries we talked about? Setting nervous system-friendly boundaries is huge. Before you automatically respond to a request, tune into your body. If you feel yourself physically bracing, use a simple, neutral phrase. You can just say, I don't have the capacity right now, or simply, not today. Setting boundaries is a gentle signal of safety to your body. It moves you from a state of reaction to a state of regulation. Oh, and if you feel guilty, remember that guilt is just an old survival strategy acting up. It is not the truth.
The real sweet spot for healing actually exists right at the edge of your window. You expand it by practicing something called pendulation. Basically, this means gently moving back and forth between mild discomfort and safety. You touch on a stressful feeling, and then you immediately retreat to a safe, grounding practice. This gentle back and forth teaches your nervous system that yes, it can actually handle stress without getting entirely flooded or needing to shut down. I really want to leave you with this powerful takeaway from our sources today. Healing isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about giving your nervous system the tools to feel safe, even when life gets hard. Again, the goal is never to just eliminate stress, but to give yourself the capacity to respond to your life rather than just blindly reacting to it. Which brings us right back to our very first question. Knowing what you know now about your nervous system, your biology, and your window of tolerance, when you're under stress, do you tend to shut down or do you explode? I really encourage you to just start observing your own patterns today completely without judgment. Tune in, take a breath, and see what you notice. What one small thing will you do today to signal safety to your nervous system? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.